What's up, guys? Jay Daniel here with my co-host Victor Marshall, and this is the Sales at Home podcast. Today, we're going to introduce a new series. Tell them about it, Vic.
So we're going to talk about 5 steps to a better network. And we figured we'd break it down into series for you guys so that way it's more digestible, more understandable. You're not like, oh, well, this is a lot of information. How do I do it? How do I do it? No, we want to give you the bare bones, spill all the tea, give you all the medicine right now. So that way you can go out and you can implement step 1 and then come back next week, implement step 2, and so on and so forth.
Yep. Yeah, we're going to tell you exactly what to do. We're telling you, we're putting you on right now. So just listen up. Over the next 5 episodes that we publish, Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, we're going to walk you through how to get a gig, pretty much just how to get a gig. So for day one, we're going to talk about like ideal customers, right? So before you start anything, you need to know, before you start any kind of business venture, right? Because you are now a business if you want to be a closer, an internet personality, right? So you need to know your market, you need to know your ideal customers, and it's not just knowing like, I want to work for life coaches, right? You got to understand who the individual is that you want to connect with, but you also understand who's in their network, right? And network with those people. Because a lot of the time, it's not you met a guy and he put you on, it's you met a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy.
Yeah.
Who put you on. So let's say hypothetically that you want to work with like life coaches, you want to close for them. Now you got to start thinking about you got to start thinking about where they hang out. And then you want to go one step deeper. You want to think about who knows them. And usually the closest people to somebody are people they work with, or people they work with, people in their family, people in their social circle, right? So think about who is in the social circle or who is working with a life coach. Well, if their company's doing 100 grand a month or more, which they need to, because if they're paying 10% commissions and you want to make 6 figures, then that's a bare minimum, right? So if they're making at least $100,000 a month as a life coach, right, you can start to think about, okay, cool. They probably have somebody helping with the marketing. Can I get that person in my network? Where does that person hang out? Okay, so seven figures in revenue. They probably have somebody who's helping them out with taxes. Okay, can I connect with that person? Is it a person? Is it software? How they're going about it? Right? You can start thinking about like, okay, are there other sales people that they have working for them that are, under the life coach, right? And who are those people, right? Maybe they need a manager to manage the salespeople, right? Appointment setters, even admins, even VAs. Like how I know people that love their VAs to death. If their VA says, "Hey, I know a guy," they'll talk to them, right? They can intro
Yeah.
you. So if you can start to strategically think about who is in that network and who is in that power base, you can work your way in. And this is funny enough, this is how you do corporate B2B sales, right? If you ever read a book about like selling big ticket stuff, like 100K plus, there's a really good one. It's called Mass by Neil Rackham. Neil Rackham. It's a massive account selling systems. The same guy that wrote Spin Selling. You read those 2 books, by the way. Everything you need to learn about sales is there. But if you read it, it's literally talking about how do you sell B2B, how do you sell massive products to big corporations, and it's understanding the network within the network, right? It's not just find the CEO, because guess what? He's fucking busy, right? Who
Yeah.
knows the CEO, who's around him. And if you can position yourself and build value, and the way you build value is understanding what somebody values. You can do research, you can look into, right? You can look into specific positions. You can even call and ask somebody at a lower level in the company that's easier to talk to what somebody in a higher level in the position values. And you can literally do that. I've literally gotten an opportunity and a connection just calling customer service, right?
Yeah.
And being redirected to another place, or just asking them a question. Like sometimes they can't connect you, sometimes they can, right? But that's understanding the network. So once you have clarity on the avatar, you can really start to work your way in by understanding how everybody interconnects in that company.
Yeah, let's break it even down further because everything that you're describing right now is market research, right? It's making sure that you know exactly what you're going after and finding out where that person is, what they do, who's around them, and targeting that. But I think even before you jump into that, you've got to figure out, all right, step 1 is how to find my ideal client, right? Well, what's ideal for you? Right? Because
Yep.
a lot of times we get people saying, "Oh yeah, 10K, 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 10K." 10K might not be ideal for you. 10K might be something that's a great, reach for you in the future, Right now, all you really need is 4 to 6K, right? And you're sitting here searching for these 10K offers, and you're bypassing all of these other offers that could get you to where you want to be. Because remember, to get to 10K, that could be one 10K offer, or it could be two 4 to 5K offers, right? So it really just depends on what you need and how you get there. So I would recommend at the very start, the very basic, sit down and say, okay, what do I need out of this job? How much money do I actually need? What's my goal here that helps me build, that helps me grow? What's my realistic goal to survive and to be comfortable? Right? Meet
Yep.
those goals, take what you've got there and say, okay, now that I know that all I really need is like 4.5K to be comfortable, I can pay all my bills, I can, be all right. But I actually want to make like 6 to 7. Okay, cool. That's a great goal. So find yourself a good 5 to 7K range job. So where you already know that you're getting your base covered, but you can still push and you can still grow. Because a lot of times the difference between a 5 to 7K offer and a 10K offer is the right offer, right? It could be the same offer for two different people, and they could be making two different amounts because one's in the right offer and one's not. So sit down and say, okay, do I want a life coach? Why do I want a life coach? We talked about it before on other episodes. How do I find out if I want to talk to these people every day? How do I find out if I want to like be accustomed to this client base and this is who I'm talking to, this is who I'm connecting with on an everyday basis? Is it a free flowing conversation? Am I having to work too hard to get this? So sit down and map all that out. Write it out. Say, this is my ideal client that I want to talk to. This is my ideal prospect that I want to be talking to every single day. This is the ideal offer I want to sell. All of these things, put a list out and put a map out there. And when you go to find an offer, you're doing your market research. You're finding out, who works for the company. You're finding out, like you said, who does their taxes, who does their marketing, who does all of these things. You're getting to check off some of these boxes on your list, right? And if a company doesn't check off those boxes, it's not right for you, right? So I think a lot of times people get stuck in, I need to find my ideal client, and ideal for them is somebody else's ideal,
Yep.
you know? And it's like, no, what's your ideal? What is your picture for you, for what makes you great? Don't worry about me or Jay Daniel. What makes you great?
Yep. Dude, I don't like it, a lot of the people that say I want to make 10K, 20K, 50K, like, dude, you made $800 last month, you
Yeah,
know? Like, and so it becomes like, okay, it's not about the money, it's about the outcome. What's the outcome you want? A lot of the time, for most people, the outcome is I want to make enough where all my bills are paid, I don't have to stress out, I can travel, I can do whatever I want, I have flexibility, right? And if that's the goal, you want to figure out that exact number because maybe five opportunities that you find or they're
yeah,
like let's say your goals you need to make 3,200 bucks a month, right? And that
yeah,
that covers your lifestyle costs, that covers everything. You could literally live in Thailand if you want to, right? It may only take you a couple weeks to find a gig that can pay that much. It may
yeah,
take months to find one that can pay a higher amount that's
yep,
also going to want you because you're probably newer and you have
yep,
less experience, so you're going to bomb more interviews just because people pay in proportion to the value that's being given, right? So like understand that as well. Like the more money you want, the more work and the more like struggle is required to get there, right? The higher the goal, the harder it is to achieve. It's not just set a big goal and get it, right? I
yeah,
don't know why that seems to be a thing. I understand the
yeah.
magic of thinking big, but understand
Mhm.
that things happen proportionately, right? So like really think about, and that's true, right? Like really, I made a post about this today actually. And it's like this idea of like you have the part of your brain that's good for thinking and planning and processing stuff, and you have the part of your brain that's good at just doing what it's told, right? Like you really got to stop and think. I think most people are stuck in this kind of like monotonous, like robot, I do what I need to do. This is getting stressful. Let me watch Netflix.
Mhm.
Okay, stayed up till 4 a.m. Back to work. That right? They get into this cycle of like pain and escaping and pain and escaping and being a robot and not thinking and numbing themselves. Right? Sometimes you got to take a second and think, and that's why I like fasting. Anytime I'm like in a place where it's hard to process or think, I fast. I try to stay away from like social media, and the amount of mental clarity is crazy. Right? So just a little thing I like to do, but just reflect on that shit, bro. I think that's the biggest thing. If you reflect on your outcome, you can reverse engineer and everything else falls into place. If you don't know what you want, you're gonna be dragged by everybody else's goals. And
Yeah.
yeah.
You said something key. And I think that's we have this part of our brain that's all action, but we actually need to think about it too. And I,
Uh,
for one, I'm a big proponent of action, right?
yeah.
You'll see me saying, you'll hear me say action plus action plus action equals momentum. You'll hear me saying it a lot.
Yep.
But if you're not thinking before you put action in, you're just moving, right? Action without direction is just movement. And if you're not going to think about, all right, where am I going to go? How am I going to do this? How am I going to take my next step? What does my next step look like? Where does my outcome from taking these steps? If you're not going to do that, then action is just movement. And sometimes all you need is just movement, and that's okay. But
Yep.
if you want to have any forward progress, you need to know which direction is forward.
Exactly. Dude, it's like dude, if you go to the gym and you have no plan, you don't know what the fuck you're gonna do, but you're like, let's put on some muscles. Hey, that machine looks nice. Let's do that. Right. And you don't even understand the idea of like hypertrophy, 8 to 12 sets, heavy weight, time under tension, 45 seconds, right? Like eccentric, like you just don't understand these things, right? Or you kind of understand them, but you don't have a structured plan how to go about them.
Yep.
Very, very, very strong likelihood you're going to quit early, number one, because you don't believe in the plan. Or number two, you're going to spend a bunch of time and you're not going to make any progress. Or any progress you make is going to be lost because there's no way to add on top of what you were doing. And also, everything you did is surface level, so you don't even know the outcome that you're getting, right? If you have a pre-designed workout plan, you can actually like literally sculpt your body how you want it to be. Okay, I want to have bigger shoulders, more sets on shoulders, more weight on shoulders. I want to be more flexible, do stretches, right? Do these stretches. I want to prevent injuries in my hamstrings. Guess what? You can do stretches for the hamstrings. You can lighten the load and work your way up, right? It's because you have a plan. If I literally go in and say muscle, like there's not, you know what I mean? It's just not going to
Yeah.
happen. So, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of people approach like sales like that and just work in general. And I think you need to be more intentional. And so day one, guys, right? Start with the end in mind, figure out your ideal customer and figure like where are they, right? Where are they? And this is gonna perfectly blend in with days 2, 3, 4, and 5, which you're gonna want to watch because they're going to be juicy.
Yeah. And I think one of the keys that we've got to realize too is a lot of times we go straight for the head, right? You want to hit that client, you want to talk to that business owner, and like you said earlier, they're busy. They're a business owner for a reason. So let's look at the subsets, right? Let's look at who works for them. Let's look at put it like this. If we're going to make a list of people to contact, if we're found our ideal client, let's say we know who our target is, we've got our action, we've got our direction, we want to target this fitness coach here.
Mm-hmm.
Who do I go after? Number one, I would say customers, right? Why? Because you want to make sure that the product is good. And what's the best way to make sure the product is good? The customer base. If the customers are happy, if they're making progress, if they're getting what they paid for, then you know the product is good. Number two, I would say go after employees, people who are currently working for him, people who have good things to say, people who are marketing for him, people who are working for the business. Number three, I'd say go after testimonials. And that may sound like, oh, that's the same thing as client base. It's not. Testimonials could come from, all right, this is who this person is. This is social proof. This is their brand. It's all a testimonial to that person, right? And that's one thing we forget. We forget that everything we put out there is a testimonial to who we are and how we operate, right?
Yeah.
So everything we don't put out there is a testimonial to who we are and who we operate, how we operate. But
Yeah.
every time they put something out there, every time you see them talking in public, every time you see someone interacting with them, what is that like? Right? Because that's very key to how they're going to treat you when you come into that business.
Yeah. By the way, guys, I also want to say these nuggets that Victor's dropping are little tidbits as to day 3 and day 4, which is your marketing and branding, how you're represented, and which is your conversions, how you're actually converting clients. Because you don't want to just you're only going to have 1 or 2 clients, right? So you don't want to
Yeah.
just make a sale and bring on a client, right? You want to bring on the right client that's going to allow you to hit your goal. So couple, just want to redirect back to day one, which is like on the ideal clients. Um, Once you've picked your ideal client, right? Let's say your life coach, right? Um, Victor, should we tell them about the Dream 100?
Do it.
Oh, man. All right. Gonna do
Drop
it.
it.
We're gonna do it. So like this is the core foundation of when you're actually picking your gig, right? You understand your niche, life coaches. Now you're gonna think about the 100 best life coaches. Best meaning they're making the most money, they have the strongest social, just what Victor was saying, right? They have the strongest social presence, they have the best testimonials, everybody and their mom fucking knows them. You're gonna write down as many names as you can if you can only think of one, you know, Tony Robbins and like one other person. If you can only think of like one or two, like start to research, like literally just type in like life coach and then think about what do life coaches do and then ask those same questions to see what pops up on like YouTube and stuff. And make a list. Make a list of like 100 people, like legitimately the biggest list you can possibly go. And so, and think about what the biggest, think about the ones that you want to work with the most, the biggest, the most influential, the most successful, right? That can be the foundation and the essence of your core avatar that you're now going to start really stepping into and building everything else around, right? So it was like kind of the way you're presenting yourself. These are the companies you're going to be researching individually, one by one, actually reaching out to them. You're making sure you're converting, making sure you're orchestrating the right relationships. But if you don't do this, everything else is going to be random. It's not going to be effective.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the key. The key is you don't want random targeting. Like you're finding your ideal client, you have to focus on that word ideal. And we've already talked about it being ideal for you, ideal for your future, ideal for your goals. And if you're not targeting that, then you're not finding your ideal client. You're just wanting somebody else's dream. And
Yep.
this is your career. This is your life. These are your finances, your goals. If you don't take responsibility and you don't put your needs in front of everything else,
Yep.
then you're following somebody else's dream and you're not accomplishing what you need to accomplish and you're going to fail.
Exactly. And you know what? Everybody talks about like sales training, and I keep seeing like controversial threads everywhere. I feel like dude, I feel like I'm on an offer now, right? And like today we had like sales training and on a call, and man, I'm just sitting there like, holy shit, like this is really good. Like the owner and I'm like, oh wait, yeah, the owners are paying like 5K a month for us to be able to get this level of support. So that can be a part of your plan too. Like, what are the resources you feel you need if you're not that experienced, right? You probably do need some fucking training, right? Um, and if you're brand new, you're very strong likelihood that you're broke, right? Like maybe you're not, right? But like, you know, you don't want to make finances an excuse for you not like developing your skill set and getting better. You want to uh, see them as a piece of the puzzle and work your way around it to hit your goal, right?
Yeah. And a good offer is going to have sales training.
Yeah.
A good
Dude,
offer is going to, they're going to
bro,
develop you.
yes. All the training, develop you as a person, everything. A solid offer. You will, dude, you want to hear a sneak tip? A freaking tip for you guys? Find an offer with a good sales manager who's
Yeah.
done sales and who's made like 10 grand a month. Because guess what? They get most of the time, bro. They get there was a course that I know these guys were selling before. They're not selling anymore, but literally it was 25K. It was two salespeople that want to become sales managers. It was 25K, and the essence of what they're teaching is like get a commission every time one of your sales reps closes the deal. This is a model in this space. These managers are typically getting a large base, and they're getting a commission every single time a sale closes. So understand that they're very heavily incentivized to help you. And they're just like you. They are just like you. Like I just had an interview for like a manager role. Like they are just like you, and they're doing whatever it takes to get and maintain that gig. So like, hey, I will train all your salespeople. I'll drive up the revenue of the company. You as a sales rep making more money is going to drive up the revenue for the company. So everything and everybody's at your disposal as long as you ask. So
Yeah.
something to keep in mind, and
Yeah.
as you're doing your initial like kind of targeting in terms of who you want to be working with.
Yeah. And I mean, where we're touching on a key point, which I think is we've already talked about, finding what your ideal is, but part of that too is like the structure of that business. And we'll touch more into it in the next couple episodes. But the structure of your business, the structure of the business you're going for is so important. I mean, if you're not looking for,
Break that down for us.
yeah,
Tell
if you're
us.
not looking for the like, for instance, an offer could tell me, hey, I can offer you 4 to 7K each month, right? Great. That's a great statement, but I need to see the proof of that. I need to see if other people are making 4 to 7K. I need to see what your leads are. I need to see how much flow is coming into your business. I want to see what your current close percentage is. I want to see what your conversion rates are. I want to see what your drop off is, what your no show rate is, what all of these things. I want to see that because 4 to 7 sounds great if that's exactly what I need. But if you don't have the structure in place to get me that, it's not good at all. It's just a pipe dream because I'm going to be making a big fat zero. Right.
Yep.
So not having that structure there can make or break 3, 4 months of your time.
Yep. It's it's kind of like when you're looking for a wife, right? Like you're gonna have a list. Even if you haven't written it down in the back of your head, you're gonna have a list. You're gonna have things that you know you need and things that aren't that big of a deal, but you'd rather, not have, right? Like you want to have a list and you want to have your criteria. And like and any solid reputable company probably has them, but you want to make sure you know it in the back of your head, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, like they probably need to have a public facing persona or content. The content probably needs to be rising in engagement and people actually responding and reacting to it,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you're going to all the trouble of getting into the power base and networking and meeting all these people strategically, like, and you go on their Facebook page or their Instagram page and they have one like and no views, right? What's going on? It's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
You look at their ads, and no one's clicked it or watched it, and nothing's happening, or they don't have any ads. Like
Yeah.
there's no testimonial. Like there's just certain things that a company needs to have. So like this is why I recommend to start from the top because they're probably gonna have them,
Mhm.
but you want to keep them in the back of your head as well because like if they don't have it, like you may it's really hard and it's really hard to sell a lead that hasn't been indoctrinated into like your influencer because you're always going to run into the inherent trust factor,
Yeah.
right? And that's probably one of the hardest objections to overcome because all you can really do is be really fucking confident, you know?
Yeah.
Be
It's
really,
posturing at that point.
yeah, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
Like because they're going to say I just don't trust you, I don't know you, like, right? And so
Yeah.
the more engaged, and that's what makes a good lead. People talk about good leads. You create good leads, right? Because you warm them up and you pre-handle
Mhm.
objections and content and them loving the owner, right? But if they're not creating good leads, like it's going to be a hard gig to sell.
Yeah.
There's like the people like there's gigs where I see salespeople that don't have any sales skills at all, but
Yeah.
the owner's marketing is so good that
Yeah.
they're just enrolling people. You ever been one? You ever sold at a live event, bro? And everybody's just really fucking like, or even been at a live event and everybody
Yeah.
sees speaker talk, and by the time they actually say, "Hey guys, $37,000, this thing," there's a line of 50 people literally
Mm-hmm.
salivating, like, "Please don't run out of spots. Please don't
Mm-hmm.
run out of spots. Hey, business partner, well, I know we only have $50,000 in our business bank account. Can I use it all? I'm at an event, right?" Like,
Yeah.
so the stronger the marketing, the easier the sales piece is. So
For
I
sure.
also, so I like that's also another thing you want to look for when you're crafting that kind of ideal customer. And again, strong established companies, top of the industry, are probably going to have that to a degree. But yeah, I mean that's hell. I think that's a good place to end it on.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So guys, to recap, you definitely want to make sure that when you're finding your ideal client, because that is the first step, you want to make sure that you know what's ideal for you. You want to make sure that you have done your research and you've done your market research into the company. You start at the top, you work your list out, you map out what you need, and you make sure this company checks off those boxes. And when they do, and how you figure that out is you talk to the company. You talk to as many people as you can involved in that company. You see, you look around, you snoop a little bit and figure out, okay, is this company worth my time? And then when you get on a call, you figure out, okay, do they have the structure necessary for this to be my ideal client? Just because you land an interview with your ideal company doesn't make them ideal for you at that moment. You still need to figure out more information in order to qualify them and take that offer. Next week, we'll get into a little bit more about how to find how to build your network and how to grow over the next 5 weeks, like we talked about. But I hope this was valuable to you guys. I hope you can take some of this away. I think that it's going to be really cool to see as we progress how much of this is actually going to be beneficial to people and what feedback we get. As always, if you guys have questions or you want to give some feedback, hit us up at salesathome@gmail.com or any of our social medias at Sales at Home Podcast.
All of them.
Also, rate us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Playlists, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your pods. See you guys later.
Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. See you guys.
Boom.
Thanks for watching Sales at Home Podcast. If you loved our content and would like to see more, please hit that like, subscribe, and that notification bell to make sure that you don't miss out on any episodes coming up. If you'd like to see more of Jay Daniel, click here. If you'd like to see more of the Ninja Closer, click here. If you'd like to get your questions answered by us on our show, email us at salesathomepodcast@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram. Peace.